No, what I'm telling you is, I didn't block. I just muted. And that's one of the greatest functions there is on the internet right now.
But I don't understand what your problem is with Jesus is the reason for the season.
Just mute. It's not that big of a deal.
But it's the reason. You want me to?
Hi, this is Helen from Frankfort, Kentucky, Rapid Dave's mom.
Hey guys, this is William Russell, the Angry Artist.
This is Ray with Dallas Fort Worth. Let's talk craft beer.
This is Mirtha.
What it do, what it is, it's your boy Peasy.
What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan, aka iLogical Gaming from Streamers Helping Streamers.
This is Dylan.
Oh, yeah! Yo, this is Rapid Dave's cousin Chad.
Hey everybody, this is TJ.
Hi, this is Ryan Palmer.
Hey, this is Scott. This is Zach.
This is Ryan from Little Elm, Texas.
This is Cannon from Tampa, Florida.
This is Jay from Haltom City, Texas.
Hello, I am Kindy.
I'm Nick Ruiz.
Hey, this is Intro Girl Lizzie, and you're listening to Strikeout Beer.
Guten Tag.
Cut the music. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
Hi, and welcome to Strikeout Beer, your least favorite podcast.
I think only one person watches this show.
Today on the show, the guys will be talking about...
Like, how do eyebrows work?
I don't know how they work.
Did you poison me?
So, I'm not really sure on what to do.
What's this? I have faith in you, but this isn't a junkyard.
I would like to say that it's 90%. How about 85? Will you believe 85?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And now live from a hidden government bunker is Rapid TikTok Dave.
And the clothes have been disappearing slowly.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Alan, the part-time nerd.
It's
Zucchini.
not too late. Go get some zucchini.
And everyone goes crazy. Rah!
And we're live. Welcome to Late Night Beer Reviews with your pals Alan and Rapid Dave. I'm Alan.
I'm Rapid Dave.
Let me tell you, buddy, it's time. You know what time it is?
I know you're really excited.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
It's not that I'm not excited.
I'm about to lose my mind, and I think I like it.
I think I like it. Oh my God. What a train wreck last show was. Dude, like...
Oh, Chris coming in. I may have evidence that Lee Knox is Q. What's up, Scully G? Old school, Mike Gillum. Aliens? That's right, brother. We're talking aliens.
Yep.
And you know what? We had Leon month and a half. I don't even know how long ago it was.
He started all this.
And just for kicks and giggles, I threw out there the F1 Marry One Kill One, Area 51 aliens, Bigfoot, and Nessie.
Uh-huh.
And little did I know the wormhole I was opening up with Lee. He goes, well, since you said Area 51 aliens, because those are different from these, I was like, whoa. He's like, yeah, no, I'm kind of an expert in this. And I was like, all right. And I was like, table that. We're going to bring you back, and we're going to do this right.
Yeah.
And tonight's the night.
He caught us off guard for sure. But yeah, tonight we've been waiting. We've been just chomping at the bit.
I can't wait. He's backstage right now. We're going to bring him on here in a second. But yeah, that's what we're doing, guys. We're talking aliens. If you can't tell by the fancy artwork on the backboard by our resident artist, Mr. Rapid Dave.
I tried. What do you want me to do?
We're talking all aliens. We said, Lee, okay, if we're going to talk aliens, what do we need to do? And then he proceeded to send me like a 40-page thesis of everything that we need to watch and look up on before we do the show. And I was like, oh, okay. And I said to you, and you're like, GD, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I said, yeah.
I watched a lot of it, though.
It's for the show, though.
And
you're like, well, if it's for the show, I'll do it.
Yes. I do stuff for the show.
You do. If there's one thing that you do, it's stuff for the show.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, not as much as, I don't know, like me, but...
Get over yourself.
I mean, did you do the one chip challenge?
Oh, because I'm not an
Okay.
idiot.
Yeah, well, I did it for the people.
Oh, I gotta get my beer.
Your beer's right here.
I don't know the glass.
Oh, it's right there.
We had a special guest last episode.
We did.
Yeah.
Ray in the comments. Or Lizzie too.
Oh yeah, Jesus. Yeah, that freaking guy.
Oh,
Are you ready?
man, I am ready. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the man who needs no introduction whatsoever, but we're just going to do it just because it's fun.
Huh?
Get your dollar bills, your fives, your 20s, your 100s, your nickels, your dimes, your quarters, your pennies, and welcome to the main stage, Mr. Lee Knox.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, dude? How are you?
I'm doing great. Got my printouts, my notes I've been making the last few weeks.
Jesus.
When I messaged him today, I was like, are we still on for tonight? He's like, yeah. I've been doing my research. I was like, all right, man. I got a notebook here now. Don't be fooled by the notebook. I didn't fill up the whole notebook, okay? I got like 5 pages though.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through today, and so you had the documentaries, you had the unsolved mysteries, you had the movies. You're like, check out all of these, and then you're like, and then here's this whole list of topics. And so I went down that wormhole today, pulled up YouTube, and just looking them all up, taking my notes, writing things down. And as I'm doing things, I'm like, well, this kind of connects to this, and this connects to this, and this here, and this here.
Oh yeah.
And then there's one thing that I didn't really get a good definitive answer on, which I know you're going to give us because you talked about it last time. You told us to watch Walking with the Tall Whites.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're
in
like
Nevada.
In Nevada, and this is where you said this is where you learned about the different types of aliens. That there's different kinds, there's different types, and when you Google it, it doesn't do. I wasn't able to find anything that really satisfied what I was looking for. Yeah, because I'm getting like, well, then there's reptilian, and then there's Nordic, and there's this and that, and I'm like, I think. I don't know. I kind of got the impression from you, like, as far as like aliens were concerned, you had like the whites, you had the grays, you have the green, you had the different, I guess, almost like the Power Rangers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the Nordics there. I was listening to podcast yesterday talking about the underwater sightings at Lake Baikal, the largest freshwater lake, deepest freshwater lake in the world. And Russian submarines have seen basically tall white figures at the bottom. And so I was just thinking, I'm like, well, I mean, is that the same as a tall white? They didn't talk because the tall whites talk differently. But yes, essentially from everything that I've read, all the close encounters, all that stuff, it's the grays, majority of the whatever contacts that people are making, and the tall whites, those are the ones I really get that they're actually communicating,
right?
With the Air Force base out there in Nevada, and even with in the Zimbabwe school whenever they had the landing in Rua, Zimbabwe, they were communicated to with the kids,
right?
And then Lake Baikal. So there's got to be some kind of, I don't know if we want to call it different races or even just different like degrees in the military. Because with the tall whites, the main guy who's forgetting, he's in the documentary about it where he's talking about it. He said there were even smaller whites, which are somehow their later, I don't know, later evolution or something like that.
Right.
So
yeah, it's been a while since I watched the tall whites one, and I didn't have my notebook then, so I don't have a lot of notes on that one. But I got a 1.5 page notes on the Bob Lazar one.
Is that Walking with the
Bob Lazar? Bob Lazar is crazy. Like, it's crazy because is he telling the truth? Like, there's so much evidence both ways. They erased his history at college. They said that he never went to college, yet you can find newspaper clippings. Friends saying, well, if he wasn't at college, where was I dropping him off every day?
Yeah. He was in the student directory.
Yeah.
People have copies of the student directory from when he went there.
And also his first job, I think it was that place or whatever. They were like, he doesn't work here. We never heard of him. And then, of course, he's in the newspaper there. And then also he's in the directory and whatever. And they're like, also, when they were talking about that, and they're like, they asked him about this. And so he's like, well, then you have to ask yourself, did they hire me right out of high school or something, or with no education or something, whatever? If you believe that, then that's a whole nother story. And so that it was pretty fascinating to listen to how he's described, and he's rated by the FBI They're looking for that one.
Multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's selling little like kid science kits out of his garage, just normal stuff. And shoot, he's been raided by the cops multiple times. They toss his house all the time looking for if he did take something from his research.
What is it, element 158 or element
it's one of those, based on the atomic
Element
number.
115. I wrote that down.
So close. So close.
It's what you do with notes, sir.
Notes.
And thankfully, it's going to be harder now that we have social media. And if somebody comes out, if we have an Edward Snowden of alien technology, it's going to be a lot harder to act like he never worked for you, never lived in this place, because, our whole lives are documented now.
Everything's out there. Even for him, and he worked, for all that a long time ago, back before you had your Facebook, your MySpace, your AOL account, and the information's still out there. So, Lee, where do you want to take this at? Where do you want to start? Where are we going? We've got a whole rabbit hole of list of things. I've got pages of things. I've got my own theories that I drew, throwing things together. Where do you want to start?
I guess I'll starting at the end rather than beginning, because I think it's a really interesting time with UFOs and UAPs and USOs, which are submerged ones, because thankfully, I don't know, about 15 years ago, former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, he was a senator out of Nevada. And he was like, all right, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's put all this money into this program called ATIP, AATIP, with the Pentagon. He's like, all right, we're going to research this and whatever, and find out encounters. And recently, like in the last couple months, there have been videos that have come out of encounters the U.S. Navy is having with its crafts going incredibly fast, basically like beyond physics fast. And then now it's being documented in the military. And these are people who aren't, going to lie. They're not going to make something up, say they got abducted. Like, they're seeing this. Like, these might be enemies. They have to document this. So with ATIP, what's interesting now is that they're really collecting all of these videos, all this information. It's coming out to about one sighting a week that the Navy is having. And there is going to be there's supposed to be a report coming out this month from all this research that's been done with ATIP that's supposed to come out in the Senate. Is that ever going to happen? Who knows? Harry Reid isn't even in the Senate anymore. It's been going, like, the videos that just got released, that was from 2004.
Yeah. And I thought I heard something that we might be getting some stuff this weekend. I thought I had saw.
Oh, is it this weekend?
Might have been. I think 60 Minutes might have just did something or something along
They did
those lines.
with the guy that started that documentary for Bob Lazar. He was on
what's his name? Is George Knapp?
No, George Knapp,
the reporter, the investigative reporter out of Vegas.
He's all over everything you watch alien wise. He's always
him
involved.
and that other guy are in.
And Lou Elizondo, he's involved with research as well, and they're really at the center of it. George Knapp, because George Knapp's been the one who's been filing FOIA requests for my entire life. Just everything he can get from the national or from the Nuclear Regulatory Council for sightings at nuclear power plants. So they've been doing the legal channel, but now, thank God, the U.S. government has now accidentally funded it, and they have to tell them, what they found, where have they spent this, $22 million a year.
Yeah. And it's going back and watching it all and seeing it. It seems like the 1940s were a hotbed for UFO sightings and things like that. And it wasn't just you had the sightings, but you had the government saying that these are sightings. You had the military saying these were sightings. And I think it was somewhere around the late 1940s, which Area 51 was like, 1947 or 48?
Something like that. I should know that.
Was right there around when they started denying. When they started throwing out there 1955. Okay, 1955 was when they started denying these are weather balloons. This is gas. This is this. This is that. Because as you're going through and you're watching all these documentaries, you're watching these videos on these incidents. A lot of them happened, and I think it was who was the couple
Betty and Barney Hill.
Betty and Barney Hill, yes. So that was in. Hold on, I wrote down that.
Real quick.
1961.
1961, and actually the state there has a historical site, like a landmarker for a historical site there. For this is where they saw the UFO, and this is where they were abducted.
Right. Real quick, shout out to Whiskey. Thank you so much for those gifted subs, man, to Skelly G and whatnot. I don't want to stop down the show too much because I'm very raw with this. And Montana, thank you so much.
Oh, and we had Eric said he watched the Expedition X on Discovery last night, and they got USO and UFO on camera. They had the former ATIP leader Lou Alexandro on. So I don't know if that's a new show that's on there or what, but I haven't heard of that one. But
I mean, yeah, there are so many. I was finding the Hangar 1 on Netflix, and it's the MUFON. They open up their files, and every episode's a file. So it's thankfully, again, with all the documentation, the Lou Elizondo USOs, like all this material is out there. Like you can make 1 million shows on it and never run out. They're seeing a new one every week.
yeah, and you've got the one thing that I've found through doing all this research. There's a show I want to check out. It's the Blue Book.
Probably Project Blue Book.
Project Blue Book on something or Unearthed or whatever it is. And it was on like Discovery and Showtime and things like that. And it's Project Blue Book was the government's program to disprove all of these theories. Like the head of that, his job was to disprove all these alien sightings and things like that and show, no, this wasn't it wasn't a UFO. It was gas. This wasn't a UFO. It was a weather balloon. It was this, it was that, it was whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which come to find out after he was done being part of Project Blue Book, he came out and said, you know what, guys, hey, I don't work for them anymore. Most of that was true. Most of that was we weren't able to explain. It wasn't weather balloons. It wasn't gas. It was legitimate sightings.
Right.
But they have a whole show based off of all of these events that have happened. And now unearthing and declassified. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
And it's insane, everything that's out there.
I mean, if you think you're kept in the dark about some things, you're absolutely correct. I mean, we're kept in the dark for a lot of things, and they do it for mass hysteria. They don't want to panic you or whatever, but it's the problem is once you find out, you're like, what the hell? You know what I mean? It opens a whole nother can of worms.
Okay. And Expedition X is a spinoff of Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates.
Oh, I love Josh Gates. Yeah, he used to have a cryptid show. Yeah, cool.
What does that mean? Cryptid show?
Cryptid, like cryptozoology, animals that may exist or may not exist, like Bigfoot, that kind of stuff.
Roger. Okay.
Bigfoot's real, but that's for that's another
Pacific
show.
Northwest. Yeah.
This is the alien show.
Oh God.
Which you have a lot of these alien sightings in the Pacific Northwest. So is that a coincidence, or is it something in the water there?
Well, I mean, what I've come on to the last couple of years, and the documentary phenomenon really got into it as well. I think it was called the UFO phenomenon. It's really well made. And then the guys from last podcast, Eric's going where I'm going. When we split the atom, we got on some radar where when we were able to split the atom, you can see the nuclear power plants, you can see where we have nuclear weapons. That's where activity's happening. The Russians, they used to do this thing out by Lake Baikal, where they would just put a nuke in a field, and then UFOs would come and kind of fly around it. It's something, I mean, and it's funny.
On the power or something?
It was something. It's like we have crossed a boundary into another kind of intelligence or something. There's the classification for intelligences on like a theoretical level. It's about controlling energy and the ability to make energy. And whenever we split the atom, and now we have nuclear weapons, we have nuclear reactors, nuclear power is great, but just there's activity all around that. I'm not sure if they're warning us, if they're just interested, if they are watching it, I mean, I have no idea. But you see all the FOIA requests that George Knapp gave with the Nuclear Regulatory Council and EPA, and all of these, the Savannah River Project in Savannah, Georgia, because I've been there tons. They have tons of sightings. It's a nuclear power plant out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods. And they have a lot of documented sightings because when they see something, they have to stop and watch it and take videos or whatever. Because my car broke down driving through the Savannah River Project. Our car was there for maybe 3 minutes before we were surrounded by their officials. Like, that is how closely watched it is.
Oh boy.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's something with nuclear energy, with nuclear power that you can just, that's where it started, 1940s going forward, ever since we first split the atom, Manhattan Project, and yeah.
But then you also have the early sightings, which are documented, and there was something I wanted to look up, and I didn't get a chance to, because it's at the end of the phenomenon documentary, and they're talking about the early sightings, and it's the flying moon phenomenon was something that they mentioned a lot in the end credit scene, essentially, where they were talking about in 1917, in 1840, these things were documented and things like that. Is that something that you've looked into, this flying moon phenomenon and the early sightings of UFOs, aliens?
Yes, and I mean, there's been sightings throughout. I mean, even go back to the Renaissance period. And it's hard because sometimes it gets tied into the ancient aliens crowd, and oh my God, that stuff is just pulling info out of nowhere. But yeah, but there's
got the crazy hair.
Yeah, he's a former bodybuilding promoter, I believe, and just fell his way into his career now. But he's at a lot of the conventions. He was at a UFO conference in the desert. I think he's a keynote speaker a couple years ago.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, it's been happening. Who knows how often it was? I mean, we look at everything through the lens of what our technology is. So if we see something flying, we're like, okay, and as lights, we think, okay, it's some sort of craft. You know, we know that's possible to make things that can fly. Go back to 1850. If you see something glowing in the sky, I mean, what are you going to say it is? Like, is it just the moon going forward? Is it a shooting star? Is it just a sighting from God or something? Who knows? Like, they can call it like, oh, the moon was just floating because it was so intensely bright, like with the Betty and Barney Hill and with Travis Walton, where it's so intensely bright they can't even look at it.
Right.
Then yeah, I'll think that's the moon floating across. Sure.
Okay. We had someone said Google ball lightning. Do you know what ball lightning is?
Yeah. Ball lightning is exactly what it sounds like. Just like, looks like a ball of lightning. And probably some of these sightings are that. People have tried to say like Betty and Barney Hill if they saw ball lightning, but ball lightning doesn't stay around in the same place for a long time. It doesn't hang out there in the middle of the road.
It doesn't
But
make
yeah,
a track of 2 hours of time too, and then you're
yeah,
5 miles away.
What was that one?
Wake up 35 miles down the road. Yeah, it's south.
Massachusetts or something like
That's
that?
the Berkshire.
Berkshire one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Betty and Barney Hill, they were in New Hampshire, Lancaster, New Hampshire, out in kind of the middle of nowhere. They were on the way home from a vacation out at Niagara Falls. And just 1961 saw some big light in front of them, and they stopped, and then it became, so close encounter of the first kind is where it's within 500 feet of you. And then it kind of transferred over to the third kind, or to the second kind, where it started interacting with their car. Like their radio is turning off, they're getting whatever. They step out of the car, and then it becomes close encounter of the third kind because they see something. And Barney's like telling Betty to run, and they're going to take us. And then it becomes a close encounter of the fourth kind. Because Betty and Barney Hill, which is abduction, because Betty and Barney Hill, then their next memory is 35 miles south on this road 2 hours later.
Yeah.
And they have
about that Berkshire thing. They talk about being they talk about, what are you doing?
Mike Graham brought up, and I didn't get. I wrote this down again. Didn't get a chance to look it up.
Marfa, Texas.
The Marfa lights.
Yeah.
What are the Marfa lights? Do you know what the Marfa lights are, Lee?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've heard a bunch of things. I think that what they say was like some kind from last I heard trying to look up what it was. Because yeah, back when I was a kid, we were like, oh, it's another Roswell thing. I heard that it's an atmospheric projection of headlights on a nearby highway. I've also never been to Marfa, so really want to see them. And they say there are certain times of the year that it's better to see it. It's almost like seeing the Northern Lights out in the middle of nowhere, Texas.
Yeah, so that's the one that's here in Texas. And actually, because one of the people you told us to look up was Dan Aykroyd talking. He's a wealth of knowledge with it. Now, if you look up Dan Aykroyd, and most of what he's talking about is ghost. But you do have the alien out there, and that's when he was on Joe Rogan's show, his podcast, and talking to Joe Rogan about it. And yeah, he brought up the Marfa lights, and he was like, "Oh, so what is that?" He goes, "We can go to it happens every day." He goes, "We can go to Marfa right now and check out the lights from dawn till about, I think it said like 6 a.m.
Jesus,
the Marfa lights happen every night." And he goes, and nobody knows what they are, and they move. It's the lights are out there, and they move erratic, like a UFO does.
Probably something. I mean, it's something, right?
I mean,
and it's also Marfa. I can't stress enough is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I had a buddy that told me to go roll through there. I think there's something down there I'm supposed to stop at and get like a beer or some food at as I'm rolling to somewhere else. Yeah, he's like, I know that name when he said Martha. Or Marfa, that's what I knew exactly what it was.
You've got that. You've got the. I mean, there's so many instances, and one thing I wanted to talk about, because you talked about the splitting of the atom and them talking to us and kind of warning us, and that's where they talked about in Phenomenon, where in Zimbabwe, where they were talking to the kids about technology is going too far. You've got to slow down with it. And they kind of talked about, and I think the line that they kind of left that documentary off of is, are they here sharing this earth with us? And so that made me think of the USS Nimitz.
Cheers to you, Chris.
That you told me to look up, and that was in Phenomenon 2 as well. Not 2, the sequel. There's only 1.
Oh, I thought I was going to watch like part 2 or something like that.
But they are over there, and it's the object. It's tic-tac shaped, and it's hovering over the water, and it looks like there's something kind of bubbling under the surface, kind of coming up. And then it takes off, and next thing you know, it's out at the aircraft carrier where they just were, like that.
Yeah.
But that lead me to think, and connecting that to Fire in the Sky, where there's the aliens there, and they have almost the wetsuits that they wear, and they've talked about that in a couple different things where they're wearing black suits. So are the aliens here? And I don't know if this is a theory or not. I didn't get a chance to look it up. Are they here, and maybe are they underwater? And that's where they are.
Jordan come in to just joining to hear Lee talk, tell me things about UFOs that I already heard. Don't disappoint me, Lee.
Well, no. So that theory of, yes, if they're already here, because of how many USOs, unidentified submerged objects, that's really gaining steam. And I was just listening to a podcast the other day talking about the sightings in Lake Baikal in Russia, which it's a mile deep at its deepest point. Like, it is deep. And the scientists have gone down there trying to measure light penetration and weird stuff like that. And one time, scientists went down the submersible, turned off their lights so they can measure light penetration. Something turned on the lights. And then they see like 4 beings just like standing, some tall Nordic just standing a mile under the water, whatever. And then the lights go off again. And so, I mean, it is the deepest point of the ocean. We know more about the moon than we do about the bottom of the ocean. So
weird, right?
I mean, you think about, we were in the 90s, I think it was 90s, maybe 80s. when we were even able to go down and see the Titanic. Like, it was like people could not go see it until James Cameron decided to sink all of his money into going down and see it. But like, it's crazy.
That little one-man submersible thing or whatever he went down there in, or whoever, it's so far down and whatnot.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I'm from the water, and I don't want to go down that far.
I don't go below 10 foot. I'm just saying, it ain't gonna happen for me.
Yeah, and we got Brian coming in with Henry Zaborski would approve of everything being said here.
Henry Zabrowski from last podcast, the left. Yeah, him and I.
I think you need to send me the list of all those podcasts you're watching. I think I'd like to listen to them.
A good one that I've been listening to lately. It's called Strangeland, and it's also a website, and I think they're making a movie about it. But it's made by this guy named Tom DeLonge. Yeah, they used to be in Blink-182, and then he left music because if you look at the way the media portrays it, like, oh, Tom went crazy and now he only wants to talk conspiracy and aliens. I'm like, well, he does want to talk conspiracy and aliens, but he's not crazy. Like, he's talking very level-headedly, and yeah, has a whole website that tracks it. He's a very Dan Aykroyd type. I mean, like, because Dan Aykroyd, when they made Ghostbusters, his dad was a Ghostbuster, pretty much. Like, his dad told him everything, and that's why Dan Aykroyd, like, knows all this. The documentaries, there's one video of him on YouTube, I swear, it's him sitting around chain smoking for an hour and a half, just talking. And that's what Tom DeLonge reminds me of as well.
Chris comes in with saying Brian Lane has actually been probed.
Oh, yeah, I believe that.
Chris's second claim is someone else has been probed.
Yeah, well.
He said Lee's been probed, and I think he said Brian's been probed. So,
and that's why I only live in big cities. I have I have a very romantic idea of the country. Grew up hunting and camping, that kind of stuff. No, I'll never live out in the country. Just see if something takes me, nobody's gonna see it.
Jordan Holly coming in. Okay, James Charles Hall. We talking 50% full of shit, 25%, 95%. I don't know what that's reference to. So
James Charles Hall. Hold on, all these white people's names run together.
They're all the same.
It's big, yeah. James Charles Hall. Is that the tall whites guy? Oh wait, he's Millennial Hospital. All right, so yeah. So James Charles Hall.
Charles James Hall is what he said.
Or Charles James Hall, sorry, of Millennial Hospitality. I would think.
Well, if it's so hard. He's full of shit because they don't know anything.
They don't know shit.
It's because you don't know. You don't know where it stops, because I think it always stops when people talk about having a personal relationship with the aliens. Like, oh, I talked to the aliens, they told me about this council. I'm like, no, you didn't. It's like us trying to talk to ants for the most part. So any kind of interaction like that, I'm like, I guarantee you he probably saw something, he probably knows something, and then it just got kicked down the road like a can.
And that was something that Travis Walton mentioned about people talking about that exact same thing. People talking about, well, these aliens picked me, they chose me specifically. And he said, no, the aliens looking down on us is like us looking down on ants. Yeah. And seeing an anthill and seeing a bunch of ants, you're just grabbing whatever. We're not choosing you because you're special or anything like that. It's just, you were right there and we grabbed you.
I've said it a million times. We're not special. There's nothing particularly special about us. But anyways, I think Eric hits on a couple things right here. It's like when you start talking about outer space or aliens or something like that, you're denouncing religion. You know what I mean? But I think that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it could be something else.
For those who can't see, Eric's saying, I think aliens are demons meant to deceive. Think about it. If you can prove aliens exist, you basically disprove the Bible. Do you all know anything about the Nephilim and the Dead Sea Scrolls?
But that's the thing. It's like, how far do we go back, like in time? And what if, they're the more advanced species that come to us, and we're like, oh my God, look, these guys. these people or these things are like, amazing, and they're the actual gods. You know what I mean? There's not just one of them. There's a whole, eventually, and like when we went to the moon, we're the aliens now. We're the extraterrestrials. We actually left this Earth and went to the moon
to another planet. Yeah, but who's to say that?
That was back in 1969.
But why can't you have aliens and God?
Because God.
What I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's a whole uncanonized book of the Bible talking about it too, where they talk about beings coming down from the skies, and that's like the Nephilim, where they talk about the angels breeding with humans and stuff. It'll come to me. It's some uncanonized book of the Bible that for some reason flat earthers also latch onto, but
we just talked about your whole flat earth thing going. There's some mountains in the Mount
So if you don't know how, here's where Lee
what's with anal probing?
Went to
they stick it up your ass.
Next level experience level for us was when he talked about how he infiltrated a flat Earth group on Facebook, gained their trust and support, became an admin, and then pushed delete.
Yeah.
I've heard that he could be in the chat right now that tried to delete a certain group or page. Guy's a legend too.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's so there's so many things like when you're checking out these different stories and things and the different things, like for example, with the what do I have here?
The universe is too big to think. Jason, I think most people realize that we're, like I said before, we're just kind of some advanced primates on like a subplanet, just kind of like making our way around. But yeah, I don't. They say space is infinite, but yeah, there's definitely something else out there. It's only like what is it? Your ego or something like that makes you think that we're the primary, we're the only one. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah,
and then you get to. So a couple things that I've kind of kicked around with watching all this and reading all this is, one theory that I have is people talk about all the aliens coming and they haven't been hostile that you have reports of, essentially.
Just checking things out.
They're checking things out. You have lots of reports where their technology, if they show up somewhere, they're completely shutting things down. Like you've got certain instances where they're showing up at nuclear sites where we have missiles and they're hovering right over them. And we tried to launch to take them out and we couldn't because they overrode the technology. We weren't able to launch.
Or they're just dead silent.
They're dead silent. You have cases of fighter pilots going up against them and they show up in front of them and they're trying to attack and they can't. They can't attack. They can't even eject out of their planes in some cases. So one thing that I've kind of thought is, do they even have that? Maybe their technology isn't offensive. Like they don't have that technology to attack. And maybe had we not spent all of our time.
Or maybe they're just exploratory.
Well, but they've spent all of their time and effort in exploratory, in learning things and advancing, as opposed to us who have spent, if we figure something out, we figure out how to turn it into a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
That's our natural thought. That's our natural process.
Where do we come from? Monkeys. Strongest monkey is the dominant monkey, correct?
Right. Darwinism, right? So is it maybe we haven't had those cases of them attacking us because that's not their technology?
Or maybe they're just so deep, they're just looking for stuff, seeing what's going on, or checking in on us. What do you think?
Well, I mean, like when we send a probe to Mars, I hate using the word probe again, but we send a little robot to Mars, all right? Say if something sees it and they're like, all right, this probe isn't hostile because it didn't try to shoot me in the face. Like, well, no, that's not what it's there for. It's there to collect rocks and take pictures. So if they were hostile, we would have been dead during the Cold War because I think that would be the peak. You have all these tens of thousands of nukes. We're all pointing them at each other. You know, we're the Russians. They almost blew us up, except for one guy went rogue and decided not to press the trigger. So just if they were hostile, then we would have already known and we would already be gone.
Yeah. So Jordan's coming in. Here's something to think about a lot. There is an assumption that a species capable of interstellar travel would be so advanced that they would have zero interest in us. But think about this.
No, I think that there's definitely things out there that want to roam and learn more and see what's going on, and they just poking around. We're in a habitable planet. I mean, we're obviously been here for however long. We're evolving and whatnot. Let's see. What about the Denver? What the hell is the Denver Airport?
Oh, there's a whole thing about the Denver Airport.
That's a real
I don't
thing?
know what it is, but
Dude, they have
You
this creepy, not to get too sidetracked, they have this really creepy horse statue at the Denver airport. It's got glowing red eyes.
I've seen that.
And the craziest part about that statue is that the guy who made it, the horse fell and killed him.
God.
So after this statue killed this artist, they're like, all right, let's put it up. And they got all this crazy art on the inside. It's
This is
wild.
actually a pretty interesting thing from Old School Wizard. He comes in, he goes, "There's only one alien race. We don't know."
It's a question.
It's a question. I mean, I would assume that we have visitors from different types. You've had the whites, you've had the grays, you have this and that. The reptilians, I assume.
The Nordics. There's several different.
The reason they're
species of
I would
alien.
say the reason they're coming around, and they've been coming around since. I mean, how long do you think? Like, do you seriously think about all the way back to like the Mayan times where they're cutting people's hearts out and rolling their bodies down hills, or how long are we talking? And I think that it's just they are finding us, and we're a group of things making our way around, making a lot of energy, making a lot of a noise in the atmosphere or in the galaxy or whatever. So what do you think?
I mean, I think so. It's taken humans 2 million years to be able to get to the point of having space travel and just, our own in planetary space travel. We're just hanging out in our atmosphere. So, I mean, I think that based on what we've seen now, it would be arrogant to think that they didn't have at least primitive versions technology 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. I mean, I think definitely the biblical sightings are legitimate. It's just, how do they even describe what they're seeing? If you're the Incans, the Mayans, and there's all this. If you go in Cambodia at Angkor Wat, it's a beautiful temple covered with carvings. Some of the carvings literally make like no sense because it's them trying to interpret what they're seeing. They did one carving, I believe, of what they thought some kind of armadillo or something it looks like, but it looks like a stegosaurus. And so everybody's like, oh, that means that we lived alongside dinosaurs. Like, no, they just had no idea what they were looking at. I mean, if you even look at the Sistine Chapel, the way they draw fish in that is hilarious because they told the guy to draw a whale, and he's like, I've never seen a whale before. And so you see the fish in the Sistine Chapel, and it looks just absolutely wild because he did not know how to draw a whale. So, sorry, that guy, Michelangelo. Yeah.
All right, so here's a question for you. You ready?
Yeah.
What if Mars had water on it because we used to live there and we messed it up? We messed up the climate so badly that we had to send an escape pod to Earth with only Adam and Eve in it. And the pod was the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs.
It would be a big pod. And I'd be very interested to know how Adam and Eve stayed alive for, I don't know, 400,000 years until the skies cleared.
Oh, you are a treat. You are an absolute delight.
All right. So
what are you drinking over there, by the way, real quick?
False Idol.
Oh, jeez.
What is it? Oh, it's their collaboration with Energy, Calista.
He was just at False Idol this week.
I know, but you guys, you
And
ducks, you guys are too much on the.
I had no clue. I live across the street from there.
Are you serious? I'm so sorry.
He lives right behind G&G or J&J retro store.
I'm right across the street from the U-Haul store.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. We even
better as a retro store, not the.
I hope Dom's not listening, but yeah, we even tipped the bartender to stay open an extra hour, and he did. It was great.
I saw that because you guys were still there partying. Because I was driving by. I was like, I thought they closed it this time, but yeah,
it doesn't matter. Dom's over at Pettico's drinking anyway, so who gives a shit?
Not there.
That's what his dad said. Like, Dom, doesn't he work at Celestial?
Yeah, I think
Celestial.
He does.
There you go.
Yeah, Celestial.
Yeah, screw it. Do what you can. Do what you can.
Oh man, so there's so many things here. Like, where are we going to next? What are we talking about? Like, because you have a ton of stuff to talk about with Travis Walton, Fire in the Sky.
I mean, I think Travis Walton, that's always a really quote unquote fun case. It's a terrifying case because it's my biggest fear. You know, I grew up, I mean, not a country kid, but I grew up in McKinney, but we would go down and hunt down in Jasper in the middle of the piney woods, you know, nobody out there. So that was always fun, stalking deer in the early morning, middle of nowhere. It's great. So Travis Walton and his friends, bunch of country dudes that get subcontracts to clear brush out in the middle of nowhere. They're in Snowflake, Arizona. Literally, it's called Snowflake, Arizona. And they're clearing brush side of the road. They're not going to make their contract because they are running into so much brush in the middle of nowhere. Bunch of country guys. They don't know what aliens are. They don't know how to identify what they're seeing. And yeah, they see this giant bright fire in the sky and they see it and they keep on getting closer to it because they're curious and they have no idea if they should fear it. And they keep on getting closer. And then Travis gets the closest, and then Travis is gone.
Yeah, he's the one who gets out of the car.
Well, in the movie, yeah.
No,
in real life.
Oh, in real life.
So he hops out of the car.
He hops out of the
closest?
truck. And he's the one who gets closest. He's the only one who gets out.
Okay.
And this is from his mouth because I watched an interview with him on Joe Rogan.
Okay.
And then I watched an interview with him on some other thing. I don't even know what it was, like hillbillytv.com or something like that. I don't know what it was. But it was just him talking, and just the guy's like, just tell me what happened. And it's just him talking about it. And like his story on Joe Rogan matches his story with this other one and matches it everywhere. He's wrote a book about it. The movie is based off his book that he wrote. And like even in the interviews, he's like, look, in the movie they did this, but this is really what it was. And so he's talking about the differences in them, but the main thing is that, yes, he got out of the truck. He got close to it. And at one point, he sees it and when he says when he got out, he figured it would fly away. And it didn't. And at one point, it was shining a light. And he's like, his natural instinct was to hide. So he went forward and went behind a log that was there. And then when he realized, I got to get out of here, he stood up, but by going to that log, it actually brought him closer to it.
Mm-hmm.
So when he stood up, they're like, gotcha, bitch.
Gotcha. Wrong move, asshole.
But and he was gone for 5 days.
Yeah, and his poor friends, they tore ass out of there and went to town and are trying to get help, trying to get the police, report him missing. They're just terrified. I mean, yeah, 5 days later, Travis just goes to a payphone.
I want to know, but that's from the movie. He's sitting there, and she and the ex-wife or the wife or whatever is sitting there. They've been prank calling me all day and all night. Well, how long has Travis been calling saying I'm at this damn gas station? Come pick me up.
1 day.
I mean,
that time.
Well, she's complaining about.
No, I mean,
it's been a while.
He's talked about all this.
Oh, okay.
Like,
okay.
It's out there.
Homeboy, just luckily was there at the phone or there to hand him up the phone. Like, hey,
I mean, the cops were talking about charging one of their friends. They were saying, all right, so they killed their buddy, and then we're gonna have to start charging somebody because it's some, country county sheriff missing person. Bunch of country guys in the middle of nowhere. Something happened. So
yeah, and it's so we have one question out here. Let me scroll back. I gotta go to it because he asked it old school. Where's it at? I scrolled too far. I lost it.
Did I not already flash that up? I'm pretty sure I flashed that up.
But he want to talk about why have they. So aliens have been around since 1940 or whatever, are some of the earliest sightings. Why have they stayed such a secret and not been all like, "What's up? Here's my coming out party. ¿Cómo estás, bitches?"
It's observatory. It's not like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends, he was on a boat. He did up in Alaska. He did research on king crabs, and they would just put down traps with those deadliest catch guys, bring up the crabs, do whatever he did, throw them back. They never at one point decided to say, well, we need to introduce ourselves to the Crab Society. Like, no, they're just picking up crabs. So, yeah, it's like and we think of everything in our own framing of how we look at our society, our government. Who knows how their society is even made, if they have authority, if they have anything like that, if this is something as part of their communication, if they can even communicate, if they are doing it telepathically and we're not advanced enough to get it. Who knows?
So let me ask you this. So what would you say to the people out there who are like, there's actually no real proof of aliens? Because, I mean, honestly, Jesus is the only way to heaven. And you've got Jesus, and you can't have Jesus and you can't have aliens. So what do you got to there?
There are tons of gaps in the Bible. You can have Jesus and the aliens. There's a 30-year gap in Jesus' life in the middle of the Bible, in the middle of all the Gospels. So doesn't have to have everything. Everything's within framing. I mean, who knows the intersection of the Judeo-Christian history with aliens or something like that? I mean, shoot, if I was God, this would be like the fifth world. I would try to up the game and try to make it different every time. Who knows what reality is and how it exists with that. Maybe it is a part of our reality.
That's brilliant, though, the way you mention it. It's like, why would you just do one? Who the hell does one?
I tell you all the time, I'm just going to have one beer.
You have different things, different realities, different.
A super yogi brings up, who knows if Jesus was one of them?
That's been like 5 Ancient Aliens episodes too, I swear. That show's still on. They're on like season 18.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's not going
which
anywhere.
One was it?
Ancient Aliens.
Oh yeah,
Who knows? If
comment.
Jesus was one, if Houdini was one, all these. I think if anybody's going to be an alien, it's going to be David Blaine. To be honest,
that guy's an alien.
I don't know how he's alive.
I think it's great that you mentioned that. Now, here's the question for you: Are aliens people not born of this world, or I don't even know how to say it? Someone that is not a human race, are they here walking amongst us? That we don't. Obviously, the whites out in Nevada.
Yeah, they're the tall whites. I mean, I would say no, because for our world to be sustainable for them, I think would be a stretch. I know that there are different worlds within the cluster of galaxies that are the Milky Way that are capable of sustaining human life. So it's that, I don't know. It would be very unbelievable for me for somebody to be without a suit, without some sort of kind of apparatus and walking around.
So they need something
But
to make it around.
Is it probable? No. Is it possible? Yeah, totally. Because I always tell my wife this whenever I'm up too late and drinking, where we think of everything and framing it as like carbon-based life forms, where we think we're going to encounter something that walks on two legs, that has two eyes, 10 fingers or something. What if something didn't evolve from a carbon base or a nitrogen? What if it was a nitrogen base? What was it, an element that we don't even know of or something? So who knows if we can even see them?
Okay.
Might be anything, but for grays and whites, I wouldn't think they're walking around with us. But I do think the whites are still chilling in the desert and hanging out at the bottom of Lake Baikal.
Gotcha.
So what do you think about, so have you heard, and again, it's just the research that I've done here lately, but going back to Travis, he said, you know what, if any alien sighting, UFO sighting, it's not on accident. It's on purpose. It's not like they're sitting there like, oh, darn, those humans caught us again, right? But then he's also made the comment of, if they wanted to, they can come down and replace us without us even knowing. So there's a thought that the aliens have come down, replaced certain humans with aliens, and we don't even know. Like, Rapid Dave could be an alien. and I don't even know, because he's just like a normal person, but he's been replaced by an alien because they have that type of technology and that advancement.
I don't think they have that much technology and advancement to be just as grumpy and hate everything. Like, there's no way. Like, they can't even compute that much hate.
Oh man, there's so much coming in.
Yeah.
Question for everyone: if you had alien interaction and they asked you to go with us, would you?
No, never, 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 never.
No, never.
No, never. I don't know. Like, I've got a family and stuff, and I want to take care of them.
Yeah, see, I'm the same way.
But then again, at the same time, how many times have you have an alien come and say, "Hey, bro, let's chill, let's party"? I don't know. Maybe he's a really cool alien.
If he says let's party, I might be in. If he's like, hey, let's go, check out this cool shit behind my van, I'm like, I don't know.
I honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know. David, just any real proof of one alien life form would be fine.
I mean, what do you want as proof? Do you want the bacteria found in asteroids in Antarctica? Is that an alien life form? It's bacteria that didn't come from this world.
There is a lot of that, and that's something else that like we talk about.
Betty and Benny Hill, the pink
Betty and Barney Hill
found on her dress, and she did nothing with it. And then the next day, her dress has basically changed colors, been de-threaded. All sorts of stuff have happened. So
I'm actually quite concerned how much this guy is infatuated with the Middle Eastern fella.
What? Those who? I haven't gotten there yet. Aliens might have evolved from a comic book. Oh, no.
That'd be great. As someone that's like a diehard X-Men fan, that'd be awesome.
The way we think is small-minded. That there are things in space that make no sense to our small mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like where they talk about there's this one really cool YouTube channel that is just leaving me right now, but where they talk about the stages of intelligence, and they talk about this big scale for how we control energy, and it's like 0 is like discovering fire, and they said humanity right now is like a 0.75 on this huge interplanetary scale, and for what you can manipulate energy with, and it's wild. When Native Americans first saw like Columbus and the other colonists, whenever they came in here in their giant ships, they had no idea what the hell these giant ships are. It is terrifying them. Like, how do you comprehend something that you didn't even know was a possibility to exist?
Well, and that's like, even just beyond that, you have that current day where you have these civilizations that are in the jungles of wherever, where we've never interacted with them, and then all of a sudden they see a drone flying over them, and that's just like mind-blowing to them. So who's not to say we're not a tiny civilization and these UFOs are just drones flying over us? I mean, like, honestly.
Yeah, they're just on their way.
I mean, look at. Let me just throw. I'm throwing it out there as a joke, but kind of real. Look at the Men in Black movies, and then you had the whole alien race that lived in one of them inside a locker in a subway in Hoboken, New Jersey, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And Jay opens it up, and they're like, "All hail Jay," and he's just a dude who's so small in the big scale of things. So who's to say we aren't that?
Yeah, it's what I love with Carl Sagan, his views on it. And I mean, what got me started and probably all this is my grandfather was really into Carl Sagan books. And I got a first edition of Cosmos. I have a first edition of Contact, where, Contact, the Jodie Foster movie. I mean, that was him.
That was a good one.
So I think, where they talk about the idea of, in the book where she's not the only one who has the interaction with the beings, but they do look like what she's expecting whenever she sees them, because light is, our perception of reality is light reflected through our lenses. So who knows what another creature that's outside of our elemental scale looks like. And I did want to mention Jordan Hawley, the Kardashev scale. That's the intelligence scale I was thinking of.
Okay.
I saw that come up in the comments. Yes, the Kardashev scale.
We're way behind on the comments. Let's rapid fire these comments. Eric said reptilian, and that's one of the different.
I think that reptilians, I think it does make sense, especially based on sightings. What stinks is that the reptilians also get taken over by the David Ickes of the world. David Icke only talks about reptilians, and then somehow the anti-Semitics have joined into that, and they say, "Oh, the reptilians are code for Jews." I'm like, "What? No, he's talking about actual," and it just all gets lost. But based on the lizard man sightings in Wisconsin, lizard man sightings in South Carolina, stuff like that, I think that's extremely probable.
Okay, so Jay brought up.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm working the comments here, bro.
Easy.
Lay off. What if aliens live in an atmosphere made of 90% heroin? He saw it on Rick and Morty.
I've seen it on Rick and Morty. Mr. Peebles or something like that. Is that what it was? I think it was. He was like, it was when Jerry was trying to wiggle out of giving up his wiener for Mr. Peebles.
And Ray comes out. Once the rapture happens, they'll blame it on aliens.
Yeah. If the rapture is going to happen as we understand it, and if it's either like the Left Behind books and everybody just disappears, or if it's like,
and I'm stuck.
What's the movie?
Okay, let's do it.
Or if it's like that movie, The End, and we all just like float up, like, yeah, it'll be blamed on aliens.
Whiskey Pro, the only aliens living among us are Cher, Ozzy, and Steven Tyler.
I mean, I definitely believe Ozzy. I can't wait. I feel so bad for saying this as a huge rock and roll and just metal and punk fan. When Ozzy dies, the studies that are going to be done on his body will change medicine, because they said he altered his DNA by all the drugs he did and is somehow still alive. How is Ozzy still alive? It's nuts.
Nobody knows.
There's some mutation going on or something in there where.
Who's the other guy? Nikki Sixx.
Yeah, like how?
Who the hell's that guy from the Rolling Stones? The guitar, the guy.
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards still alive.
Yeah, he snorted his dad's ashes.
Yeah. I drove down to Houston to watch them just because I'm like, oh, this guy likes to party.
Ray said aliens might tell you about Jesus. Maybe.
We
don't know.
Knows?
Jason said he will go with the aliens. If we got some good beer, he might go. Hey,
Man, it's like, so here's why I wouldn't go with the aliens. I'll say that. I don't know why this is sticking with me. Like 15 years ago, I'm watching a documentary, some Animal Planet documentary on the Greenland shark. And there is this researcher, and she is like so into the Greenland shark. And she talks about these sharks can live like 150 years. They're great. They don't get cancer, blah, blah. She loves it. Half an hour in, she kills a Greenland shark so she can study it. Where she says, I kill it so I don't have to kill any more. And I'm like, that's exactly how I would look at like if we look at a Greenland shark, something that this person loves and she researched it and she kills it straight up. Like if you're researching humans, like, yeah, you can do whatever to them. You don't care. It's humans. It's this thing you're studying.
Yeah. Ray commenting on the whole Christopher Columbus thing. Indians knew what a boat was.
Well, they're not Indians, they're natives, but yes, but they didn't know what a giant ship was.
Yeah. And then Ray said, Strikeout Beer, I knew you were gay. Ray, we told you that last episode when you asked us if we were lovers, and we told you yes. Let's see here. Jordan Holly, you mean the Men in Black documentaries? Yes, we were talking about those documentaries.
Dude, there's a 3-part podcast series on the last podcast on the left where they talk about sightings and interactions with Men in Black, and it is wild. It's not like government people.
Maury Island talked about the Men in Black, and they talked about the guy showed up, but then I mean, with that one, with the Maury Island, it turned out that some of that was the first instance of like UFOs showing up, and they said there was 6 donut-shaped objects that showed up, and then they just started raining down metal that started killing. It killed their dog and other stuff around there. But then you also have instances with that where, like, later in life, the guys that were involved with it said, "Oh no, this was all just a big hoax," and the things that were recovered from there were they tested them and it was just aluminum. But you've never had any cases of anything that, again, I've only researched so much, but where you had aliens showing up, UFOs showing up, and raining down something that does damage.
Yeah, no, it's not like out of the Watchmen where a bunch of squid rain down.
Yeah, and then Ray came back with common sense says we aren't aliens in the locker. How do you know?
Why would we be in the locker?
I don't know. Have you ever microdosed acid and then tried to find out if we're in a simulation? Because it's a rabbit hole, and it's a terrifying rabbit hole.
Here's a question from old school, Davis Bragg. Should people be more afraid of aliens or more afraid of people who believe in aliens that find out there's no aliens?
Click on it. I can't see it.
I can't click on it.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So more afraid of aliens, people who believe in aliens, and then
find out there's
no aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the latter, because if somebody dedicates their life to something and they find out it's not, I mean, it's just like we're finding out with QAnon, which everybody, now that it's all getting reignited because they think he's coming back in office in August for some reason. But yeah, they have tied in everything to this, and when it falls away, they have nothing. So yeah, I'd be way more scared of them if they figure out that or if they come to some conclusion there are no aliens, because then they've wasted their life and they're going to be angry. When aliens, they're just aliens. I mean, I'm scared of being abducted, but I don't think aliens are raining bombs down on Richardson, Texas right now.
No, because that's a big city.
Yeah, see? And my neighbors are awake, and I can see their lights, so they'll see me get taken.
So let me ask you this, Lee. I've got a 2-part question for you. One, have you ever witnessed or seen UFO aliens? Have you ever had an experience with that?
No, thankfully, never. My mom has. When she was on her way back from a party. I don't know why she told this to me. I was like 12 when she told me this, where she talked about something. She was on her way back from party and she saw she thought it was a crop dusting plane. She's like, wow, those things have lights in there at night. And then it came down to this field and it kind of stayed there in this field and then it stopped and then it went away. And I'm like, cool, Mom, that's a great thing to tell a 12-year-old at like 10 p.m. Thanks. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So before I ask you the second part, this was thrown out here. Did that pop up? My stuff's blocked. Okay. We are all in a simulation and it was built for Jared Leto. You're all just NPCs in Jared Leto's amazing Dream World game.
God, I hope so. I love that Jared Leto has gone full cult leader.
God.
He went from the guy who got his face beaten in Fight Club to a rock musician and now a cult leader. I would be happy to be an NPC in that because I'm not interacting with him, so I can be the NPC that lives to 120 and does whatever. Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
He was a rock star before.
Was he in 30 Seconds to Mars before Fight Club?
I think so. And that's
okay.
Yeah, so he was in 30 Seconds to Mars.
I just wanted to destroy something.
From all what I heard was he went into movies and acting to help his band become.
Okay.
Band wasn't bad. I'll be honest. I'm a massive fan of 90s and early 2000 bands.
They were great. I just thought my first interaction was him getting his face beaten in Fight Club.
Yeah.
I just wanted to destroy something beautiful.
I said that.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
So you've never had an interaction with aliens or UFOs. Why do you believe? What was the thing that made you believe?
Oh, this is a really good question.
Not great. I mean, people believe in religion and stuff all the time. They've never experienced it.
But there's a reason why.
I mean, I think it was also kind of, I self-gaslit myself into it because I got really into X-Files as a kid and just the ability of things being not what we understand. I can tell you, I don't have a good relationship with my mom, but we watched every single episode of the X-Files together, like next to each other. Like I seen them all and just the idea of investigating all that. And then somehow when I was like 16, I found out that some of these things like happen, like the Rendlesham Forest incident, which is really well documented in England.
You didn't give me that one. What's that one?
The Rendlesham Forest incident. It's in England in the Rendlesham Forest, and over the course of a couple of days, in between these two bases in England, they saw a bunch of sightings of crafts that were landing in the middle of the woods that were taking off around them, blah, blah, blah. So they're in the military, so they're like, all right, we have to document this. So they start taking recordings. They take audio recordings because this is in Rendlesham Forest, 1980. And they are doing recordings, guys in the military, and they're saying everything they're seeing. And the tapes are out there. They put them out immediately after because they're like they don't have the secrecy that the U.S. does. I mean, yeah, they have MI6, but Rendlesham Forest. So it's out there. They can say, okay, we're seeing this orb. It is there. It is taking off. It is hovering over the trees. It is next to us. Goes on and on and on. It's incredibly well documented and happened over several days. And I mean, now in my industry, I work with a lot of Europeans, and there's a saying where it's what is it? Oh my God, it was going to be about the British being incredibly polite and honest. Anyways, yes, there is no reason for those guys to ruin their military careers. When it all adds up, there's no when you say that you saw a UFO, it doesn't make you rich. It ruins your life. Everybody involved in Travis Walton case, it ruined their lives.
Yeah.
It destroyed marriages. Like, there's no reason for them to lie about this. It's going to destroy everything. Everybody in the Rendlesham Forest incident, nobody advanced. Half of them left the military a couple years later. Like, I mean, I'm pragmatist about all this. It all can't be fake. Some of it has to have happened. And I think the key to it is going to be the military documentation for all these different countries, because military people are very serious and they're not going to see something and assume it's something else. They're going to document what they see. So yeah, that's where I got into it. The Rendlesham Forest incident, I think I found out about it in 1998, something like that. What was I, 13 years old? And then it's been downhill ever since. And now here I am, a crazy dude talking to my bar.
Uphill.
Yeah.
So Rapid Dave,
Yeah.
do you believe aliens, UFOs? What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it's an arrogant thought to think that we're some type of superior species on like this dominant planet. We're just another speck.
Well, I would say we are a dominant species on this planet.
We're just a speck in like the grand scope of like the universe, or whatever you want to call the massive universe.
Okay.
What's it called, Lee? Like entire space.
What? I mean, the metaverse? I mean, all the universe? Yeah.
Metaverse. We're just like we could even be a science project in the meta universe.
We're just in a locker in a subway in Hoboken.
If I've been living in New Jersey this entire time, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, I'm gonna be super pissed. Fuck going to Hoboken, fuck New Jersey, and all that kind of shit. I got nothing for it.
So people believe in religion because they see God created the world. Atheists, nothing created everything.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm gonna stop everybody right now. It's 2021 we're in now?
C.
Yeah, it's June. Wow.
10 years ago, we weren't this favorable to Middle Easterns, to be honest with you. We didn't like Middle Easterns all that much, but all of a sudden, you know, we're turning, or we're super favorable to people that came out of the middle of the earth there.
Middle Earth? Hobbits?
Hobbits. I can't stand hobbits more than anything. They drive me crazy. They come up to about they got massive feet.
But saying you saw a UFO might make you a Freemason.
What the hell
is that the same?
I mean, maybe my grandfather, he was a Freemason, and he was also super into Carl Sagan, so who knows what they talk about in there.
So is it easier to think there has been aliens here on Earth, or that there is other life in the universe?
I mean, other life in the universe, that's just thinking about the universe as being infinite. Like you think about what is it, Murphy's Law, whatever, can go wrong, will go wrong at the worst time. How I interpret that is that's an interpretation of what infinity is that yes, there are infinite possibilities, there are infinite worlds, there are infinite universes, etc. It would be arrogant to think that intelligent life hasn't happened at least once. Maybe they're 2,000 years behind us. Maybe they're 5 million years ahead of us. Who knows?
Yeah. Jay coming in with, why does Alan keep wanting to put us in the locker? I mean, I'm just trying to put things in perspective for you, brother. And then Jordan said, nah, being a Freemason makes you a Freemason.
That's always my thing, is when I'm asked a question, I think of it as the most realistic, possibility of an answer. We are not some, like here, right? We're definitely not some advanced species or anything like that. That is, we went to the moon back in 1969.
Did we?
That's our biggest, I think, achievement. We threw a robot on Mars.
Oh, Roby?
A
Roby?
However many years ago. And it's like, we're not exactly like just thriving right now.
I mean, it's, I've seen.
We were alive during when the Star Wars movies came out. Yes. Life is good.
Life is good.
But
it could have been worse. For
our simple-minded, if you seriously think that like we are the dominant, like we're the progressive, we're the future, we're the, here maybe. But like you think about the universe and how vast it is, what'd you call it? The meta universe,
the metaverse, yeah,
metaverse. Dude, that's to me that it's almost overwhelming. But yeah, we're not. I've been saying this for years. I've been saying this since I was a young guy. I never was like. It's arrogance to think that we're something special.
So let me ask you this.
Don't walk off.
I'm going to. Do you think ants are aware of our existence? Do they comprehend us?
I mean, I think yes, because ants have now evolved to the point that they, live off of us. But do they know what a human is? No, they probably just know our effects. They know to fear this thing walking towards them. Do they understand what a human is? What a human social interaction is? What a family is? No, there's no way. Because ants cultures don't. I don't know why I know so much about ants. Or I watch BBC series on ants where they talk about, army ants, where it's for the whole ant mound. Like they will sacrifice themselves willingly. Like, okay, let's put a bunch of dead bodies in front of if we clog up our exit with our dead bodies, the enemies don't get in. Like, that's insane. Like, we don't think about that. We don't go to Karbala and say, like, okay, before ISIS comes out of there, let's just put a bunch of dead army soldiers in this door. Like, it's wild. So
you know who they fear? They fear the old guy in the white, off-white New Balance because we're coming to wreck shit.
Man, I just sprayed some ants on my grapevine today, and I'd use like the organic stuff, and I'm like, oh, you guys are gonna learn to hate my rainbow sandals, yeah.
So
I'm full bore.
Have
We're
you
gonna
already
kill you with
already
chemicals.
moved, Lee, or are you still here in Texas?
No, I'm still here in Texas. I'm not moving until July.
That's
okay.
And
already
even
when I joined it.
And even if I'm still gonna be here for Big Tex Beer Fest every year.
Okay.
I already told Chad that. My parents still live in McKinney. So it's not like goodbye. It's just like, all right, I'll see you a couple times a year now. So yeah.
Sweet. So you just talked about the New Balance and that. Did you see that Miller Lite and New Balance joined forces to make a New Balance koozie? It's like a shoe koozie for your beer.
Jesus Christ. Like, I'm a father of two, so now I have to have one.
It's like the white New Balance, but it's a koozie.
Now I have to have that. All right, so that's I'm gonna Google here in about half an hour.
Old school coming in. Do you think aliens not on Earth have beer or mind altering things?
I definitely think they have mind altering things. Probably they have different neurotransmitters and we can't even comprehend, but yeah, I think beings just want to feel good every now and then. So who knows if they, have their space heroin or whatever.
So I asked you, Lee, asked Brandon, have you guys had alien experiences? I have had two in my life.
Me.
Yeah, I did.
Dang.
Okay. Have you had an alien experience, Rapid Dave?
Nope.
Okay.
There we go.
So I already asked you, and you gave me an answer, but whatever. But no, I've had two in my life. One, I was a young lad.
Oh, you say last this
I'm
time?
a lad.
Okay.
Up in Michigan, I went on a camping trip with my aunts, my uncle, my cousins, and we were out in the country up in Michigan. And we were we were sleeping in cabins. And my cousin woke me up and said, "Hey, you got to take a look at this." And I was like, "I'm trying to sleep." He goes, "No, get up, come look at this." So I go over to the window and we saw
lots of probing going on.
It was a UFO with
So
lights and things like that.
So much probing.
And
your eyes would burn.
We looked at it for a minute or two, and then it took off.
Jesus Christ.
And that was my first experience with aliens.
You said it was up in Michigan, right?
Yeah. Out in the country.
Gotcha.
Like we were out in a camping trip in the country.
See? Out in the country.
Yeah.
Don't ever go out in the country.
I went to go camping, and I might never ever go again.
So much probing.
But and then
You're damn right about that, Illogical. Pride Month is probing.
My second experience was actually in North Richland Hills.
Like, it doesn't work. Oh, it works.
Whoa.
I was in North Richland Hills.
What?
Out at False Idol Brewing.
Shut up.
And I was hanging out with my buddy here.
Oh, Jesus. I was about to say, I saw that guy the other day.
That's how I know this stupid ass group is just stupid.
No, he hangs out at False Idol. This is Steve.
You look like a damn garden gnome that's like fucking 88, maybe 50, 70 pounds overweight.
He's right there next to the dog's bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you lost a tic-tac-toe to him.
No, I wasn't playing tic-tac-toe. Yeah. That was
I was following that.
I didn't want to go. Well, actually, I couldn't go because everything else we got going on over here. But yeah, I was like, even if I wanted to press, I'm like, I'm not going. Not to that. I can't remember what was going on that day, but I was like, yeah, I'm not out.
Were y'all going the anniversary?
For who?
False Idol's anniversary.
I haven't. No, those tickets were expensive.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I forget. I just got them just because I was like, hey, it's the last event before I leave. So
we're going to
Brutal.
We're going to be at Brutal's 2-year anniversary.
Is that in June?
That's June 19th. We're actually we're doing a live show out there. Like they invited us out to do the podcast.
Cool.
That was the first
fun.
we ever did the podcast live. Was out at Brutal. Had a great time out there. We called Eric's mom. She joined the show. We had a good time. But they hit us up about a month ago and said, hey, we're doing our 2-year anniversary. Do you guys want to come out and join us? And we said, hell yes. So we'll be out there June 19th for their 2-year anniversary. We're definitely looking forward to it.
Okay, cool. Put on my calendar.
Yeah. So there's so many things. What did Jason say? Hold on. Let's pull this up real quick. Jason said, my mom woke me up about 11 or 12 at night and went back to bed, went to
the back deck,
and it was solid light, but it was zigzagging through the sky, and it finally disappeared. Definitely not at the airplane. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Just think about the capabilities of their technology. I don't know. Freaks me out. It's like this is them just existing. They're not showing off. It's wild to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have all this stuff written down. There's so many things that you told me to look into, told us to look into. We haven't even talked about
the Berkshires or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some weird shit.
So let's talk about. So that was a whole episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
The Berkshire. That's where these.
We don't want to keep you too late either. If it's an issue and we're going late, okay,
you're fine.
We'll make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about the Berkshires.
Mm-hmm.
Was in
1969. Yeah. 1969. Yeah. Couple different areas in the Berkshires, and what I love about that episode is how they blended together with maps. My wife's a map maker, so it's great seeing them how it did, where they had the sightings. Like, okay, these people at this time, they saw this craft in the air, and then you can see down the road and somebody else saw the craft, and it's all just linked together. And then whenever it gets started close to the cities, then it's the interaction with people. And towards the end of the episodes, this guy, he is obviously an adult now because this happened back in 1969. And he talks about playing in between his two friends, or his house and his friend's house, and then him just getting stopped in this beam and where he cannot move.
Yep.
Is that Tommy who was running in place?
Yeah.
He had a voice that come in his head that says, go home. And so he bolts out the door and runs home. He's being babysat by someone else. And he's trucking it across this yard. Long pour.
And it's like, what I love about that is that it was extremely well documented. It's 1969. It's extremely well documented locally. They were talking about it on the local radio. That's how news got out. They were talking about it. None of those records exist. The only thing we have now is everybody's stories. It's everybody that was there that experienced it, saying, I was in the car with my mom and we saw this. I was in the yard and I saw this. This happened to me. So it's this entire area of people that are not connected and saw this in the 60s.
Yeah.
Like, where, I mean, this is like Close Encounters of the Third Kind wasn't in the zeitgeist at that time. Like, there's no reason for these kids to be lying, for everybody to be lying. Like the Zimbabwe school landing in Rua, Zimbabwe, where it's a bunch of kids craft landed in right by the playground, communicated with them. All the kids saw it. The kids had a reunion a few years ago, and their stories haven't changed.
Nope.
What did they? Why?
None of them had
What did they have
anything
to
to
lose?
gain from it.
Yeah, gain. Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Based off of what they did when they were kids, they didn't gain anything off of that. I mean, you had some that were teachers, you had some that were counselors. None of them were anything. Like, I mean, they were something, right? But they weren't anything that's like celebrities or anything like that. They were just normal, everyday people now versus then, right? So they didn't have anything to gain off of that. And like you talk about the Berkshire, you had like Tommy, who was a guy who was running in place, and he talks about he was up there in the UFO and he saw Melanie, which was another one of the people that was abducted.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
He had never met her before then. Like that was the first time he ever saw her. And then after everything was happening, he was like, I know you. I've seen you before. And he saw her up in the UFO.
Yeah.
And that's just it's all that whole thing was crazy, right?
Yeah, and he was a kid back then. And years later, we're saying like, oh, I met you before, but the thing was in a UFO. And she's like, yes, definitely. That's, I don't know. It's Occam's razor, where whatever is most likely the case is the case. That seems like it. A lot of stuff has to cut the other way.
Eric said, didn't they have a baby on the UFO? I don't remember if they said anything about a baby, but I know they said there was a bunch of other kids on there. And that was one of the things that like Tommy had talked about. He saw a bunch of other kids on there and he recognized some, he didn't recognize them all.
Yeah, and anytime someone mentions kids and UFOs, just always takes him back to, what was that, season 4 of the X-Files, when Scully had her baby taken by the aliens.
I'm going to be honest
got so
with you,
scared.
I've probably seen like 3 episodes of the X-Files in my life.
All right, so if you have to see one episode ever, I think it's called The Fluke. It's about a liver fluke. And I won't give anything away that, but liver flukes are things that live in pigs. And they made a whole episode about one being a monster, and it's hilarious.
Do you know what season that was?
Hold on, let me find this.
Let me look.
All right, liver fluke, X-Files.
Use the internet.com, are you?
Fluke Man, episode 2, season 2. Okay.
Oh, cheers to that there, Merc. How about that? We haven't been paying attention to
All right.
the channel.
Oh, God. We're supposed to be cheersing.
You know what? Hey, let's do it. So we were drinking because we didn't even talk about it because we wanted to drink some sort of space-inspired beer. We were drinking Galactic Haze IPA.
I thought it was. I saw the can and I was like, is that Galactic Haze? Yeah. All right.
And then, so we're now out of that, and now we are drinking from Texas Ale Project, Pantera Golden Ale. And I just poured it. I haven't even drank it yet.
Please tell me, did y'all have Pantera on?
I wish we would have.
I mean, we're not allowed to play that stuff. But if
he's talking about having them on. I was like, I would have thrown him an invite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They did a whole Q&A at the brewery, I thought. I mean, obviously everybody except for Dimebag, God rest his soul, but
oh, he wasn't there? All right, so we go from that, and then you had like, it wasn't even just like kids with the Berkshire, you had adults, and like you had Tom and him and his family, they were in the car and they got abducted. And then 3 hours later,
this one I was talking about earlier,
they're somewhere. And like, there were certain things that the aliens missed. Like they had the driver and the passenger switched.
The grandmother and the mother. They're like, my grandmother has never driven a car in her life.
And they were now in front of a drugstore and things like that. So it's just...
See, and one of my buddies growing up, he moved down to McKinney, went to a country town outside of Canton called Martin's Mill. It's probably got 150 people. And he told me about this one time. He said they were driving, and then just somehow the next second they were on the other side of the highway. And nobody could explain what happened. So it's like, I can't imagine how scary that must be. Yeah, you get put back in a car, grandma's behind the wheel, like absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, grandma hasn't drove a car in like 12 years.
She's never driven.
Why is she behind the wheel? Exactly. It's crazy to think that.
And I'd hate to go full bore out on this, but if like I'm driving it and then my wife is behind the wheel and I'm in my car, I'd be terrified just because she's got a lead foot and will probably hit it to 90 on the highway.
Yeah, no, I'm
not trying to be
she's not driving because of that. She doesn't want to drive on the freeway. She's one of those who doesn't want to drive on the freeway. If I drive past an 18-wheeler, she's freaking out, things like that. I'm the one who got pulled over for doing like 85 in a 75. And when the officer pulled me over, he goes, "Do you know what I pulled you over for doing?" I said, "I don't know, sir." And he said, "I pulled you over for doing 85. And I look at him, I go, "That's it?" And he goes, "Yeah, well, I just peeled someone off the pavement like an hour ago because they were going too fast." I was like, "Oh, well, that sucks. Had you waited like 2 more minutes, I promise." Well, first of all, I was doing like 90 something. And had you waited 2 more minutes, I would have been pushing 100. But you had to kill my buzz. But whatever.
Yeah, my wife drove a Monte Carlo 454. That was her first car. So, and she was like, "Yeah, we would used to go down to the drag strip and hit it to 110." I'm like, "You were 17, Shannon. That is fucking insane."
So for me, I go from, we talked Bob Lazar, we talked Walking with the Tall Whites, we talked Unsolved Mysteries. The next thing for me was Phenomenon that I watched. And I'm just going to throw this out there. It has nothing to do with aliens. But you had the interview from the 1950s where the guy was interviewing the guy from the alien thing. And he's like, "I'm such and such, and this is Steve Laramie, and we are talking aliens, and the cigarette is Laramie, or Parliament."
Oh, yeah. Cigarette is Parliament. Yeah, every single time.
And I like kind of like stop, and I was like, "What did he just say?" And I had to rewind it to make sure I heard what I thought I heard. And it's the 1950s, and
that's how sponsorship worked. Yeah.
It was, and that's just the way it was. So yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy.
Well, who was the journalist in the movie Good Night and Good Luck? Said Murdoch, but yeah, he would start everything by saying who his cigarette sponsor was. It's just wild. I wish Dan Aykroyd would do that, because Dan Aykroyd, when he talks aliens, just absolutely chain smokes. It is wild. Documentary on Netflix, I think it's still on Netflix, where he smokes the entire time. Like, not like smokes the entire time. Like, no, like cigarette leaves his mouth, cigarette enters his mouth for like an hour and a half.
I saw that on YouTube, and it's him talking about ghosts, aliens, UFOs, anything extraterrestrial. It's like Dan Aykroyd, like Unplugged or whatever it is. But yeah, I saw that, and I didn't get a chance to watch it because when I found it, I didn't have an hour and a half to watch it at that point in time. I'm like,
oh yeah,
I was like, I got to get as much as I can. In an hour and a half, I'm out. Let me put something that's 12 minutes. I'm in.
And I mean, Phenomenon gives a good summary of everything, and I love because it's very high production value. So that's what I like about it. It hits some of the major cases. It's great. The New Mexico case with that cop that saw something land, and they were able to document the actual landing gear and the burn circle. And he was, like,
that-
"Yep, I saw it. It was right there."
Was that Kenneth Arnold?
Maybe. I forget his actual name. It was in some small ass town in New Mexico.
Yeah, I think that was Kenneth Arnold.
Okay.
He was or there was an Air Force pilot. No, that was a different one. That was a wingspan. Which one is that one? Hold on.
I mean, Phenomenon is like it's an hour and a half movie documenting shit, probably.
And that one just came out with Phenomenon.
Cases
that came out last year.
Just came out, yeah. And but they break down like over 80 years of cases. That's what's wild. Like they go through all of Project Blue Book.
Yeah. But yeah, that one with the police officer. He was
small ass town in
was they had everything showing landed. He ended up retiring, but like they put rocks around all the places where that one with UFO police officer. What are you doing over there?
Just trying to get me to say small ass town in New Jersey or something like that. Or New Jersey, New Mexico.
So let's go I go from there back to Phenomenon. And one thing that I kind of tied together was in 1990, you had the UFO sightings, and you had where they talked about where like everything kind of looked red where the UFO was.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of tied that back to Fire in the Sky, which happened in 1973. And the movie hadn't even come out yet. So that wasn't even a big thing then. So you kind of have that connection of what it looked like where those UFOs were landing.
Yeah, and it also reminds me of like the Phoenix Lights and everything, where nobody knew what they were supposed to see. Like if you were going to fake it and say, "Oh, we're going to see this. We're going to see this red glow. We're going to see this bright light. We're going to see a tic tac." Like shit, if I was trying to imagine what a UFO looked like, I'm not going to think of a tic tac.
No,
like
it's a common thing throughout it all.
Yeah.
Like here in certain places where they're talking about tic tac, and all these are things that weren't necessarily big or talked about, where the main thing was it looked like a tic tac.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, how do you think of spacecraft? Oh, it's going to be shaped of a tic tac. Can you think of a plane that looks like a tic tac? Like, no, nobody can. That's not a rational thing in our universe or in our framing of the universe.
Several different sizes. So, like, you have like the circular, you have the with bright lights, you have the black ones that are more triangular.
The triangles,
tic tac size, and those are all things that Travis Walton talked about. Going back to him, where he's like, I've had several different experiences, and I had, before then I had the one that was with his. He had talked about one brother who had a UFO experience with him before he was abducted, and that younger brother was one who believed that he was abducted before his older brother did, because they had shared that experience together. But you have those several different types of the different UFOs talked about in all the different scenarios. Let's jump to the Battle of Los Angeles.
Battle of Los Angeles, which they made into a wonderful movie that could have been a recruitment movie for the U.S. Marines. Where basically, so U.S. is, this is 1940s, 1950s, I forget. But it's at the point in time where the U.S. is at the ready for attack. And we're at the ready for attack from both coasts.
Mostly Japan, because this was
mostly Japan, yeah.
Shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
So yeah, it was 40s, and then
it was 1942. It was February 25th, 1942, and the day before that, you had an instance of a submarine that showed up on the West Coast.
Oh yes, yeah. Or was it a submarine? Was it a USO? Who knows now? Yeah.
Well, that was it was a submarine. That one was logged and all that. But then that night on February 25th, they blacked out the whole city of Los Angeles.
Is that possible?
Yes, especially back then, because they were concerned about attacks from,
because they didn't. It was like when London would go dark, so they wouldn't have every building bombed by the Nazis. Yeah, they went dark, and they had a battle. I mean, well, they saw these lights. And so then what prompted, like, God, how long was that? Where they just fired just 50 cal after 50 cal and
1,400
anti-aircraft
rounds that were fired. They had the searchlights going up, shining on things, stuff like that. And they're just firing, but you had no down planes. All you saw was shrapnel at the end of it. And then at the end, they were trying to say it was weather balloons. Oh, well, these were weather balloons that were launched. Okay, so if it's a weather balloon launched,
where are the weather balloons?
Right. So you had these sightings, and they're metallic sightings of objects, and then they're hitting them straight dead on, and they're not going down. Well, if you had a weather balloon with a rocket, a missile, artillery shell, anything,
right?
it's going down.
Yeah, gravity will pull.
And they weren't going down. There was no aftermath of, oh, well, here's these weather balloons. But after that, there was no record of them launching weather balloons in that area.
And you think and it lasted for a long time. Like they shot it for, God,
hours.
It's like crazy, like 2 hours, something like that. And then also everybody in the city is thinking they're being attacked because they're hearing all of these artillery shells and 50 cals blasting, which I'm not sure if you've ever heard a 50 cal round, but they're extremely loud, and the actual rounds are like 6 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, it wasn't like you could just keep rapid firing them.
Yeah.
You would fire, clear things out, reload, fire.
There's no burst fire M4 back then. Yeah.
So 1,400 rounds took hours to do. And that's just another situation where they thought aliens. Because they're people confirming they're hitting it dead on and nothing is happening. So we go from there.
Oh boy, he's still got his book. And I know you'll talk like he's rubbing his hands.
I'm like 4 beers deep. Let's see how much I remember.
Hey, someone asked, "What are you drinking? What are we drinking right now?"
Oh, still drinking False Idol.
Okay.
Energy collab with Callista.
Okay. We already talked a little about Maury Island.
Did he say Callisto?
Callisto.
I thought the hops, Callista hops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a collab with cholesterol. I thought you were like,
no, it's a collab with Energy, but it's Callista. It says Energy Callista.
You got a monster over there that we don't know about. No.
Let's talk about Kenneth Arnold on June 24th, 1947.
Swear to God, I'm gonna get rid of it.
Air Force pilot. He's going up against it. He sees a UFO with a 100-foot wingspan
right next to him too.
Yeah,
that's insane. Where it's crazy. Even since Kenneth Arnold, there have been so many cases of guys just flying, and they see something just tracking with them that entire time.
And Kenneth is the person to coin the phrase, or where the phrase came from, flying saucer.
Oh, see, and like it's back even after the Foo Fighters. That's great.
Yes, the Foo Fighters in 1942 in World War II. Not the Foo Fighters, the band, but UFOs.
The fighters had the action too.
Yeah.
Whenever they would see these unidentified, so call them the Foo Fighters. And I mean, even back to Kenneth Arnold, you think about the 1940s, you think about how terrifying it would be to see this 100-foot craft just next to you, and then keeping pace with you, and then just booking it. Just incredibly fast. I don't understand how you even comprehend something like that.
Yeah.
Wait, was that Kenneth Arnold? Pretty sure of the one that stayed pace with them and then just took off.
Yeah.
Was okay. Yeah.
Well, you have that with a lot of them, but it was definitely the case with him where he's going and they're keeping pace, and all of a sudden they take off. And he was actually out there to go through a military wreckage. They were sending him out there to review that. And this was out there near Mount Rainier and Mount Adams. And after the UFO took off, he said, he abandoned his mission, went back to the Air Force Base and reported what he saw with the UFO.
It's exactly what I would do. Like, oh, you want me to follow? No, abandon.
Yeah.
Abandon. I'm going to abandon.
And then from there, you go to Thomas Mantell in January 7th, 1948. And that was there was a UFO near the Air Force Base out there, and they sent him out there. Him and a couple other fighter jets were sent out there. And he said it was 300 feet in diameter. And they kept going up and up and up and up, chasing it. And eventually, you had the other two planes who left because they were out of oxygen. And they left to go get some oxygen. And he kept following them. And then eventually you end with him crashing in a farm nearby. And is it because something happened with the UFO? Is it because he kept going up? He was out of oxygen.
Yeah,
so he passed out, and he crashed. You don't know, like with that. And there was just so many. And then the military came out and said, no, it was a weather balloon after the case. Well, he's not going to look at a weather balloon at any point in time and think it's 300 feet in diameter.
How many friggin' weather balloons are out there? My God.
It was
like everything they're calling a weather balloon. It's just wild. There are not that many weather balloons out there in this world. Even there, especially back then, 1940s. Yeah, no reason to.
Yeah, and I mean, and then you go to October 1st of 1948, and you have the Gorman dogfight. And that's where there was, again, it's in Fargo, North Dakota. There was a lighted disc that showed up. And Gorman was the pilot, and he had a 27-minute dogfight with this lighted disc, this unidentified object.
And then, wouldn't you know, it didn't go down.
Never went down and just took off.
Yeah.
And there were several witnesses to that one.
Shooting anti-artillery rounds and anti-aircraft rounds into this thing that just stays there.
Yeah.
Just absolutely wild.
And then from there, we go to the Lubbock Lights in August 25th of 1951.
Ooh.
And there was a ton of witnesses out there. It was a pattern of lights. They were in a boomerang formation. And the big thing that sticks with this is it wasn't just people seeing it. There was a ton of professors out there at Texas Tech that saw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a bunch just of townies. You actually got people with advanced degrees seeing this.
Yeah.
Just like with the Phoenix Lights. Yeah.
Took a ton of pictures of it. And then they came back and said, well, no, it was birds and the light reflecting off the birds.
Yeah, birds just like to hover there in a boomerang formation. That's what birds do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some stuff. Birds do.
And then we go from there to the Felix and Robert, the USA Air Force disappearances, November 23rd, 1953, over Lake Superior. And they were called out there because there was an unidentified object over Lake Superior. And they're looking after it. They're going after it. They're chasing it for it was 30-minute chase, 500 miles per hour. They were trying to catch up with it. They eventually caught up with it. And then on the radar, the two signals merged. And then they became one. And then the one signal took off. And you never found the wreckage of the Air Force plane.
So here's my question to both of you. Are you, knowing what we know, and just as a reasonable couple of people, Are you terrified by this information, or are you more inquisitive?
I mean, I think I'm terrified because of how inquisitive I am about it and how far I want to investigate this. And yeah, if I saw something like this happening, how close I would get to it. When knowing what I know and what all these military documentations are saying is that you should probably stay far away from this because X, Y, and Z have happened. There have been dog bites lost. They can intercept you and just take off out of nowhere. So, but then the inquisitive side of me is also saying that, I mean, let's find proof. Let's get actual proof to have somebody say this is true. If I get a Snapchat of it, will that convince people? Who knows?
I think that does go a long way. It's like we're being told by, this is just coming out and it's like 3 years old. Like anything, and we get later down the pipe, obviously, because they want to protect us. They want to, not start a mass panic and things like that. But it's like, okay, so what does this mean? What does it is? And like, what do you want? And for us, I think we're just really stupid primate animals, right? We go fill up canisters of Rubbermaid.
I filled up my laundry basket with so much gas.
Yeah, gas. We're buying so much toilet paper because the shit's hitting the fan.
Bought toilet paper in over a year
because we can't comprehend these things. We're traditionally just frightened, pathetic animals, right? I mean, it's just how it is. But like, seriously, I mean, like if something came here, would you go? Well, if it somehow chose you, which I know it wouldn't, but if it chose, that
awesome, they would choose me. But like, for me, you asked a question. I'm inquisitive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking questions, and like, with everything that I've watched here over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I'm watching it all, and I'm watching it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing, cases in Kecksburg where the UFO was sighted over. It went from Canada all the way to I don't know where Kecksburg is, what state, but it was over 6 states, from Canada through Michigan through all of that, through 6 different states, and it showed up there and it just hovered, and the next thing you know, it was down. The Army swarmed the county and they took the object away. And so you hear a lot of cases of that, and part of me wonders, have they come and we've shot them down, we've taken them down, and they're here to help or whatever it is, and we're John Rambo, we're asking no questions, we're taking it all down, right? So maybe they've come here to help or whatever it is, and maybe I just feel like you have so many cases in the 90s. And or not the 40s.
Get to it.
And I feel like you should have had more with the more technology that we've had. Cell phones, things like that. So the cases should be definitely shooting up, and I don't feel like they have.
Well, it's a stigma, right? Like if you say that you come forward and you've seen
but I don't think that stigma's there anymore.
Are you sure? What do you think about that, Knox? I feel like if you come forward, you say you've been abducted, or you say you've seen a flying, let's say, UFO. What do you think?
Then enjoy being stigmatized for the rest of your life.
That's what I'm saying. It's not an accepting community.
Yeah, no. If I said that on my Facebook, I mean, I'll have half my friends think it's a joke, the other one does not take me seriously. Maybe a couple people that will. And if I keep on talking about it, if I don't drop it and I say like, no, it really happened, then I think I'll just have to ostracize people on accident. So
Okay. So last thing here, Lee. Anything you want to bring up? Anything you want to talk about with aliens? This is your last hoorah with it. What do you got? Anything.
So I will always recommend the podcast, Last Podcast on the Left. Henry Zabrowski. He is very touched into all things UFOs and aliens, and they have several episodes about it. And he's a former MUFON investigator, which is a Mutual UFO Investigation Network, which is a whole different beast. But yes, he was investigator there. They have lots of very good episodes on UFOs. A 3-part series in the Men in Black, which also ties into UFOs. And then, I mean, really, it's, what we learned with Harry Reid is if you have questions, your politicians, as they should, can help answer them. So Harry Reid, I mean, God bless what he did, putting $22 million a year into ATIP to find out what we have seen. So I think if what we find out this month with the government and them telling us about what they've found and documented with UFOs, if it's not sufficient, then what the past 20 years has showed us, then if you call your senator, call your representative, it might change things. So we can go out from being conspiracy, just asking the questions from the people that we pay to represent us.
Awesome. Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
I feel like we have one, maybe 2 more episodes with the stuff.
We need to talk Bigfoot too.
We've got Bigfoot and we have Nessie. So
Mm-hmm.
let me ask you this: is that 1 episode or 2?
That can be 1, because I have a lot to say about Nessie, more to say about Champ than Nessie, and probably Ogopongo.
Okay.
All right.
So we've got another episode lined up. We'll figure out a date. We're going to talk Bigfoot and Nessie, and
I didn't think this one would go 2 hours, but it's been an amazing ride. I appreciate all the information and also answering the questions from the chat.
I want to keep going into
some guy saw a UFO in the 70s. I'm looking at that.
That's Billy Joe.
Billy Joe did.
Billy Joe. That's one of our listeners. He told us earlier he saw a UFO in the 70s. Said, "Hey, we'll bring you on. Let's do it." And then he just showed up in the last 5 minutes. Like, "Oh, I just stopped by to say hi and bye."
Yeah.
So Billy Joe, if you ever want to talk about your UFO experience in the 70s, let us know, brother.
Yeah, we'll get him next time.
We'll bring you on for sure. But Lee, thank you so much, brother. You're
no
a legend.
problem. Thanks, y'all. I'll see you at Brutal in a couple weeks.
All right, man. If you're going to be out there, I look forward to it. You know what? We'll bring you on for a little bit there. We're going to go
fun.
live, not be live, not be live. We're going to go live with Eric and Jason out there, their wives, some of the entertainment out there. But if you show up, you definitely got a slot, and we'll go live.
Okay. Cool.
So
I'll do it.
Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lee. Have a great night. Miles and miles of good things.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
See you guys. Wow. Absolutely wow.
Dude. Oh, Billy Joe, you came in too late. But I guarantee you Lee's watched Bubba Hotep.
So let me go ahead and say this. We didn't necessarily say it earlier, but you come in our chat fucking around or being a dick. We don't put up with that kind of shit very often.
Have a good night, Francis.
And we're not going to put up with it now.
Did you ban my friend?
Francis did, yeah.
God damn it, Francis.
I went ahead and made Francis. He should have already been a mod for Strikeout and Late Night. So
I support Francis being a mod.
I'll tell you this. Then we'll talk later. How about that? Because I always give you your voice, and I always ask what you think about everything that has anything to do with Strikeout Beer.
Yeah.
The cool thing about
Blonde, you're good.
The cool thing about Strikeout Beer is it's it's an absolute partnership. I think a lot of people who do ventures with another person, they stream or they do this and that, yada yada yada. They might make an executive decision. I don't make any decisions without Alan's approval and acknowledgement.
Thank you, Jason. You have a good night, brother. Thanks for tuning in.
I hope he doesn't do the same for me. But yeah, no, I just, that's how we've always run it. That's how we've been here for 3 years. During the whole damn show, I'm sitting there looking at him. I'm looking at him, and he goes, let it go, whatever. But I was like, you know what? Francis is asked to be a mod. I made him a mod. Made him a mod on late night as well.
Yeah.
We don't
have zero problems with that.
We don't put up with a lot of bullshit. We don't put up with a lot of hate. We don't put up with just. I already got a fucking headache anyways from just life. I don't need any more bullshit. But I'll tell you this. That guy is a fucking just gem. That was like 2 hours of just goddamn just electric.
Here's the thing. So we banned him tonight. I want to unban him. I want to.
You and Francis talk about that. Once I ban somebody, they don't come back. So you
because one,
I'm not dealing with some Bible thumping fucking moron.
Hey. He stuck around for 5 hours tonight.
I know. But they're
5 hours.
They're crazy. They're fanatics.
And he threw it out there, and I fired back every time. I didn't fire back as much when we had Lee join us.
Did I give you this? How many you got over there?
2. That's yours. But I'm all about.
What's up, Merc? Yes.
Hey, you want to come in? Cool. You want to talk? Cool. You want to talk some?
He was being degrading, I think, at one point.
There were a couple points where I was like,
and I don't accept that.
But to me, that just kind of proves part of our point. Like for me, for example, I got heavily involved with church and things like that, and had a point in time in my life where I was going to school to be a youth minister and things like that.
He proves every point that I have.
And I went through a bunch of S through that time.
Mm-hmm.
And the people, Jay, you missed it because you weren't on Facebook, Jay.
It's all on Facebook.
I mean, this is that one night where you would have wanted to have been on Facebook, but you heard me talk about it all. I mentioned it. I
sent friends over to Facebook for it. And yeah, no, most of the action is on Twitch. I'm not gonna put. Listen.
I had a bunch of stuff I went through.
I'm not.
But the people that were there for me weren't the church group.
Yeah.
They were the non-church group. They were my buddies who got together every night. They drank. They had fun. They partied. They did all that.
Yeah, don't worry about old school. This is something we let go too long.
He threw that stuff out there, and when he threw it out there, I said, "Hey, Lee, what do you think about this?"
Yeah.
And Lee had an answer for it all, and I had no doubts about that. Because if I didn't think Lee had an answer for it, I wouldn't have thrown it out there. I would have ignored it. Yeah. But I knew Lee would have had answers like I did, right? But me, hey. Unban the guy. Bring him back next. If you want to tune in for another 5 hours next week, brother, join up. But guess what? Next week, I'm going to be better prepared next week because I know what I'm getting into. So I'm not just going to be like, hey, I know there's a part in the Bible where they talk about this. I'll be like, hey, in Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 5, it says this.
Yeah. I'm not dealing with that. But like as we go on through this like entire
so
thing.
Old School said no problem until he started messing with your guest.
Yeah.
Jordan said, do a beer drinking theological debate on another episode. I'll gladly participate. Excuse me.
Oh, Jesus.
Hiccups. Lee was solid. He wasn't bad until we was drink.
Oh, okay.
Just ban him each week after he drinks too much.
I don't think he was drinking too much. I think it was just I think you know,
First of
obviously
all,
he came in hot, and he's a religious
he
guy.
He didn't know the English language. He had so many grammar errors.
I mean,
he talked about LeBron.
Yeah.
Not LeBron. LeBron. Queen LeBron. And then he thought Michael Jordan was a GOAT, which, I mean, let's just be honest. Michael Jordan's an overrated hack. And I will talk to anybody and debate that fact any day of the week. But yeah, we could totally do a theological debate on another episode. Jordan Holly, we'll bring you on, brother. We're all about bringing people on, supporting people, talking about stuff, different points of views, things like that. But the guy had a bunch of hot sports opinions. It is what it is, right? Elsa, you can always go back and rewatch too. Yeah. And go check it out on Facebook. Facebook was where the S went down. Billy Joe. Tell us when you want to talk about your alien experience in the 70s, brother. Because we want to bring you on and talk about it. I had one when I was younger. That's probably the late 80s. Maybe early 90s. When I went on that camping trip, I don't know. But yeah, it was out in the country in Michigan. And yeah, there was a UFO there. Saw it. Old school, loved, and still loving the show. Thank you so much, brother. Blonde, don't cry yourself to sleep. Blonde, just don't do it. Come on, Blonde. Life's not that bad. Don't cry yourself to sleep. After they get banned, doesn't it show their comments anymore, right? No, if you get banned, we don't see anything. But you could probably see the comments before they got banned. I don't know, Jay. I want to unban the guy because I want to keep going toe to toe with him. LOL. I really am going to go back and catch the action. Do it, Jay. Blonde, no, but I might show them on video. Blonde, don't cry. Can we talk about how quick Rapid's hair is growing in? Dude, it's growing crazy. Now, since the last time Rapid Dave has hair shaved, I think I've shaved my head 3 times since then. But Rapid Dave grew his hair back because Lizzie wanted him to grow it back and dye it and all that fun stuff. So that's why he grew his hair back. And then whenever Rapid Dave shows up, we're going to review this Texas Ale project. Hey, Rapid Dave, you're back. Pantera Golden Ale.
I was being questioned by the Mrs. Rapid Dave, and she was not going to tolerate any of my bullshit. So,
as she shouldn't.
What's up, man? Should I go ahead and just say this?
Say it.
We're not putting up with bullshit. This has been a long time, almost coming a little bit.
It was just today.
But I understand what happened tonight, and it was a little bit of fun, and that's fine. Alan just wanted to have a little challenge or a rival.
I just having fun,
But let me just go ahead and say this: we don't put up with bullshit. You know, we've been around a long time. This is a show that has been around for like 3 solid years.
3 years.
And you know, we have a little fun.
Yeah.
But we've never tolerated bullshit.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you who stopped by, even the new people from like SHS and things like that. I mean, I see you in the chat. Thanks so much, Blonde. You know, L Stud has been around. He's a day oneer guy. I mean, him and Mike are day oneers.
Mike's the only day oneer.
Once Jay Cisneros found us, he's been around ever since.
How do you guys tolerate me? Blonde.
It's a lot of work, Blonde. It's a lot of work.
It's easy. It's easy.
It's not. It's a lot of work.
Listen to him.
But thank you.
We need to bring you on and talk about turkeys.
I think we do need to get her on because she says she has a lot of interesting stories about just life and turkeys and stuff.
I'm all in. Hey, Blonde, you want to join us? Tell us you're in, and we'll bring you on the show, and you could tell us about your stories with turkeys and
Yeah.
Whatever else you got.
Sakatari, thank you so much. Billy Joe,
Peacock. It was a peacock.
I'm gonna point you out, dude.
Who?
It's so good to see you again.
Sakatari?
Yeah. You've been around, and Old School Wizard's been here as well. Dude, we really appreciate the love. We really appreciate the support. It just, it's a great night. Dude, to sit here and have a discussion about that kind of stuff with someone, it's great, right? I mean, I've had this kind of talk with other people, and I'm like, but they kind of push it off to the side. I'm like, well, how exactly, how arrogant are you? And then when I throw that at them, they get kind of thrown to the side. And yeah.
There's so many cases.
Well, they want to be. They want to be the center.
Oh, who?
Just people. They want to be the center of attention. They want to think this is the middle of the universe. They want to think this is the absolute.
So, but that's one thing that Joe Rogan talked about, because he had Dan Aykroyd on, he had Travis Walton on, and he said, "Look, there are people out there, and they all want to be special without doing anything special."
Yeah.
So, part of that is saying, "Hey, I've had an alien encounter, and you can't disprove it. I'm special because of this."
I don't think special.
And there is a faction out there about that.
I don't think it's special that you've been like this or that. Just give me the go sign, and I'll hit the button. That look like a go sign to me.
There's never a go sign. We got to review this beer, Chief. Kill the music.
What are we drinking?
Pantera Golden Ale.
I'm so excited about this beer. It looks fantastic. It tastes great too.
Well, you've had two.
I've had a couple.
You've had one. I'm looking at your full glass over there, Chief. So what do you think about this? Blonde doesn't watch news. It never had much to talk about until a story actually comes up.
Wait.
I want to be out of the center, just hang outside with the cool kids. Hey, Blonde.
You can't get her to shut up half the time.
Hey,
That's
Blonde, we just want to hang out with you, talk about your streaming, talk about your streaming page, things like that, and just have some fun. Billy Joe, where's the beer cam? No, Strikeout Beer, brother. Sakatar, for what it's worth, you guys are a huge reason I wanted to pursue streaming. I look up to you guys. Screw the haters.
Blonde, you're up next.
Hey, haters gonna hate.
Yeah, haters gonna
Lovers gonna love.
Blonde, I brought this to Alan. I think we talked about this in the past, and
Blonde, you're in.
Yeah.
Tell us when. We'll have you on.
Saw, dude. Lee's got some crazy
Old school.
stuff.
I can't wait for Lee to be back out. We're gonna have Lee at least one more time for Sasquatch and Nessie Talk.
I try to stop.
And I gave him the opportunity to say, "Hey, is this 2 episodes?"
I try to give him the way out
Sasquatch and Nessie, and he goes, "No, that's just one." I go, second Tuesday of next week. Blonde, we're a Wednesday show.
What the hell's we don't do Tuesdays. Welcome to Strikeout Beer every Wednesday at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Central Time.
Anytime between 7 and 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday, we'll have you on. So between 7 and 8:30, that's the main show. Strikeout Beer, late night beer review is from 9 to 10, but tonight it's 11:30.
That don't look too bad, right? I mean, I'm doing better.
Stop talking about you.
Nothing beats that mushroom, though.
There are not 2 Tuesdays. Blonde,
goddamn it!
Wednesday.
If you don't start acting right, I swear to God, we're gonna throw your ass out of
Wednesday
here.
night.
Where the hell's Illogical at? Illogical, get in here.
We can work it out on a Wednesday. Come on, Blonde.
She ain't doing shit.
Want to hear about you running up against peacocks?
I don't want to know about her running up against. No.
How delicious was those beers tonight? They were pretty good. Rapid Dave, what's your review on the Pantera Golden Ale?
God, are you smash? You're like, how delicious.
Those are all English words.
I feel like I had to go get that. Goddamn.
Review this beer.
So again, Pantera Golden Ale, 5.4% alcohol by volume.
What was that? 5.4.
Born and brewed in Dallas, Texas. It's pretty good. To be honest with you, the poundability's there. I like the can art, but it goes really back to like the 90s. Look at this can, right? It's 90s. It's Pantera art. It's,
So what's your review? Give me a score.
I mean, I don't like gold nails, and I'll tell you why. They're too soft. They just kind of like, we're not nail, we're not this, we're not that. Here's a gold nail. It's absolutely delicious. I'm going to give it a 4 because it's a damn tasty.
You are out of control tonight.
It's a gold nail. It says Pantera. It's Texas Sale Project, Dallas, Texas. Let's go.
I'm a 3.25 on this.
So low. Why?
I give the last one 3.5. I mean, it's 3.25 out of 5. That's not a low score. It's just, it's a good beer. I enjoy it. I think it's good.
The poundability's there. The can art's there.
How do I send y'all beer to try?
Tell us the name of it.
Sakatar.
If it's something we can't get, you gotta send to us, but we can get most beer.
Sakatar.
We can seriously get most beer.
Hey, if you want to send us a beer to try, send me a message on Discord, and I will we'll talk.
You're a PT nerd. Virus, what is up?
PT nerd in the house.
You know what? With that -5 shit, just get the fuck out. Just get the fuck out. Yeah, Blonde. If you got a problem too,
Blonde. Hey, tell us when you want to join us.
Yeah. Well, let us know when you want to talk.
You're in. You're in. Sakatar, fuck you. Blonde, or not Sakatar. No, Sakatar, you're cool. Virus, fuck you. Blonde, you're in.
Wild Turkey. God damn it. You sound like some cousin kissing fucking,
Sakatar, some good Ohio microbrews. I'm just going to tell you right now, Sakatar. Born and raised Detroit, Michigan. Family that lived in Ann Arbor. I'm a big Michigan fan, so I'm just going to tell you right now.
See?
Nothing good has come out of Ohio.
I'll be up that ways
but
in a couple months. You let me know.
Where are you going in a couple months?
Kentucky. Yeah. We're heading up north here. And, we've been stuck.
Billy Joe, heading to bed. Good night. Billy Joe, good night, brother.
We're going to head down to Florida first. We're going to go.
Florida.
We're going to go to Destin for Lizzie. Just a little,
Blonde, I'm from Ohio, so I'm nothing good. No, Blonde, you're good. How many times do I have to tell you, Blonde, you're in?
Wild Turkey 101.
We'll talk to you next week, Blonde.
Hey, Wild Turkey 101 all day. What do you think?
I like Wild Turkey.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Sakatar, don't hate on Ohio beer. Send me an Ohio beer that doesn't suck, and I'm in.
We'll see.
Send me a message, Sakatar, PT Nerds, on Discord. Or send the Strikeout Beer, Rapid Dave streams, Part-Time Nerd streams, Part-Time Nerd, all that stuff. You know where to hit us up. Rapid Dave's cut me off. Bullet Bourbon, Billy Joe. Guys, we're having a great time tonight. First episode was awesome. Second episode was fire with Lee Knox. Talking aliens. Can't wait for the Bigfoot / Nessie episode week. I'm so excited for wait, I'm confused.
We don't hate you.
Am I in or do you hate me? Sakatar, I don't hate you.
Maybe we can get you in.
I just hate Ohio.
I don't mind.
That's just me. But
so the Murph.
God bless. For Murph. We didn't talk about it tonight, but Blonde was in Detroit 2 weeks ago. But Rapid Dave and Lizzie, they just lost Murph. Murph dog. Their puppy dog. He passed away. R.I.P. Murph. God,
a lot of people in
it's fucking weird without him here.
I know. A lot of people in Detroit and Ohio.
Well, she was in Detroit 2 weeks ago. Mostly people in Ohio.
Let's rate somebody.
We're rating someone, motherfuckers! As always, I'm Alan.
I'm Robert Dave.
We'll talk to you guys later. Deuces. Stick around on Twitch so we raid.
Thanks for listening to Strikeout Beer.
It was a great episode.
Wait, there's no more?